This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 70th time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live. This is going on very late at night. It's about 20 to midnight as of the time I'm recording this. I've been watching the Week 18 NFL games. I said a couple weeks ago I was going to try to do a live rewatch of the critical games that will determine the playoffs, but things just got very complicated. I had to do the in terms of timing and all that, I had to put together the best movies of 2024 video over on the main channel, and I had a choice between doing this or doing a Time About the Movies episode for today. And I figure if I'm going to do something now, I might as well do this because, one, I owe it to you guys to give you a show on the first weekend of the new year, and two, I got a best and worst TV shows list to present to you guys. My best and worst TV shows of 2024. I've got to do that for you, so that's going to be the main focus of this particular show. But before we get to that, we of course got to take a look at the weekend box office. The first box office of the new year, and it's not really much. No big new releases came out. The biggest new release is the re-release of Seven. I mean, that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know, and even that didn't do that much of an impact in general. It still did pretty well for 200 theaters, $915,000, so there you go on that front. But the weekend box office, the top 5 movies of the week, are movies we've pretty much talked about in the past already, so we can get to this pretty quickly. So number 5 is Wicked, which brought in $10.2 million this weekend, bringing its 7-week gross up to $450.7 million. The worldwide gross for that is up to $681 million worldwide. And congratulations to Wicked for winning the Golden Globe for Outstanding Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. I got nothing for you. I finally realized that the Golden Globe Awards don't really mean all that much, but yeah, that's part of the reason why. A Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award, and it's Wicked that wins that one over, let me just I just want to see what movies were in that particular category. So I think this is a new category they introduced. If it's not this year, but last year, but let's see if I can find it here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm going on the Wikipedia. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here it is. The Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award, which included Alien and Romulus, Beetlejuice, Deadpool and Wolverine, Gladiator 2, Inside Out 2, Twisters, and The Wild Robot. And Wicked was among them. And this really feels like an award that they just threw in there because they were trying to do this at the Academy Awards many years ago with the best box office winner or something like that, and somebody just said, "Are you out of your freaking mind? That's absolutely stupid." And then they realized that, okay, yeah, we gotta turn away from that. But the Golden Globes will say, "Hey, we'll do it." I mean, as much as I love Wicked, which is one of my favorite movies of the year, my honorable mentions, but at the same time, it's just like, really? We're doing this. We're going down that route here, but I don't know. But hey, the movie's good. It brought in $450 million over 7 weeks. It's gonna be a big Oscar contender. So yeah, what am I really gonna complain about that? Plus, like I said, I didn't watch the Golden Globes tonight. I was watching the Vikings-Lions game, which congratulations to the Detroit Lions. Well-deserved NFC number 1 seed, because dismantling whatever hope Minnesota had left to them. And watch, they'll meet each other again in 2 weeks, like Dan Campbell said at the end of the game. He's just like, "Hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks." Like he knows they'll probably meet each other again, probably next week. But we'll see what happens there. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to number 4, moving up from 5 last week. Moana 2, which brought in $12.4 million this weekend, bringing its 6-week gross up to $425.1 million. When you take in worldwide numbers, it's closing in on $1 billion, $960 million worldwide. Yeah, congratulations, everybody. You made this movie close to another $1 billion hit just because of the name recognition and not because of the movie itself. Because the movie itself is pretty freaking terrible. And I'll delve more into that in my worst movies of the year coming up next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm talking about the movies. But number 3, a movie I did not get to see for the best movies of the year, which I probably should have because this probably would have made the list from what I'm hearing. Nosferatu, which brought in $13.2 million this weekend, dropping only 39% from last week, bringing its 2-week gross up to $69.4 million, just crossing over the $100 million mark. And for a horror movie to do this well on opening on Christmas Day is pretty impressive. But an R-rated horror movie to do as well as this has done on Christmas Day, I mean, that's really impressive stuff. You got to give a lot of credit to Universal, a marketing campaign for getting this out to people in a big way. And yeah, it's a pretty big deal for this movie to do as well as it's done. And I'm more than happy for it. I really want to get around to seeing it. I'll probably get to it when it comes out on Blu-ray. I don't know when I'm going to have the time to go see it in theaters. Last half of the year, I really have not had the time to go see a lot of movies on the big screen. I've tried to see as many as I could. But yeah, like I said before, like I said in my best movies of 2024 video, it's time constraints are really getting in the way. I had to do a bunch of like little videos for the NFL playoffs and all that, which I finally got done with today. So yeah, time constraints are really why there has been a lack of newer movie reviews on talking about the movies. But but hopefully 2025 will be a time when I can get back to doing that more than full time. But we'll see what happens. But let's get to 2 movies I have seen, which have swapped places. Number 2 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which finally fell out of the top spot after 2 weeks, bringing in $21.2 million, dropping only 42% from last week, bringing its 3-week gross to $187.5 million, and its worldwide gross up to $336 million. It's a massive hit. I mean, what more can you say about it? It hasn't already been said already. Good fun time all around, and it's going to have enough time to make more of the money back because there's no big family films coming out until the end of the month, which is good news also for the number 1 movie, which is a movie that a lot of people continue to shit on, which I don't know why. I mean, it's not that bad of a movie, at least in my opinion. Mufasa the Lion King finally moved up to the number 1 spot this weekend. $23.8 million, dropping down 35% from last week, bringing its 3-week total up to $168.6 million. Worldwide, it's up to close to $500 million, $476.4 million. This is a movie I actually kind of enjoyed. I mean, it's a very flawed film. The reason why Scar becomes the Scar that we know him for in this is not really told all that well. A lot of people had a problem with the songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I'm a Lin-Manuel Miranda fan, so I do really like his music a lot. I will say it's lacking in this particular movie, but it's but hey, 50% Lin-Manuel Miranda is still better than not having him involved with Moana too, because the songs in that movie are not that great. But in the Mufasa the Lion King, they're passable. But there was a lot I really liked about the movie in general. I did like that it tried to do its own thing. I did like that they took advantages with the story. It wasn't just a repeat of another Lion King movie. And I gotta give proper credit where credit was due. I mean, I think it's gonna do decent numbers for Disney. I don't think they're expecting this to do gangbuster business in general, but it did well. It's doing well enough that it'll make back its $200 million budget in no time. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna have the time to make its money back. Like I said, there's no big new family releases coming out until the end of the month. In fact, the biggest competition next week is going to be the Robbie Williams Better Man, which is the movie where he does the biopic as a monkey, which looks bizarre, but it looks absolutely amazing. And if it has the same level of craziness that something like the recent Jennifer Lopez This Is Me Now, which I talked about in my best movies list, or Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, if it goes on those insane levels, this could be a really, really fun movie. And then Den of Thieves 2 Pantera, because clearly everybody was waiting for a new Den of Thieves movie. I don't know a single person who ever saw the first Den of Thieves and thought, man, this is so good, I want to see a sequel to this. No, said no one ever. But no, it's going to be another very slow weekend at the box office. So, yeah, So, like I said, it's the start of the new year. This is kind of what you expect for this. We can't always have weekends where it's always going to be a jam-packed weekend. These older releases are going to have enough time to find an audience throughout the course of these very slow weekends. And with Lost of the Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I think have the best advantage to make a lot of money before we get to the end of the month when Dogman opens up, which I'm glad to see they're finally starting to promote that movie. But with all of that said, let's get to the main event. Is my list of the best and worst TV shows of 2024. Now, for these particular lists, there's not gonna be as many as there are movies, and I watch a lot of TV shows, but I didn't watch every TV show, so there's only a few honorable mentions I'm going to throw in on here. Hysteria, the show on Peacock, which has Julie Bowen in it, I thought was pretty good. Which is like this horror comedy where you have it takes place in 1989 during the Satanic Panic, where a beloved varsity quarterback's disappearance causes whispers of occult activity and satanic influences throughout the town of Happy Hollow. Dylan Campbell, Jordy, and Spud, a trio of outcasts in a struggle-heavy metal band called Death Crunch, decide to capitalize on the town's sudden interest in the occult by rebranding themselves as a satanic metal band, which leads to them becoming the targets of the town's witch hunt, especially when a bizarre series of murders, kidnappings, and reported supernatural activities begin happening. In addition to Julie Bowen, you've got Anna Camp, and of course, you can never go wrong with having Bruce Campbell in your cast, and also Nolan North. It's a really good show. Peacock had a really good year in terms of original shows, and that was one of the ones that was just like, man, this is really, really fun stuff. And like I said, you can never go wrong with Bruce Campbell. Not in any way, shape, or form. And it's just like, you can't go wrong with him on that show. Hysteria, really, really good show. Next up here, probably one of the more bizarre shows to actually work, Chicken Nugget, which is a show that Netflix premiered, and I was just looking at it going like, what the hell is this? If you don't remember, this is a South Korean mystery comedy show where you have Choi Min-na, the daughter of a company president, mistakes a new machine as a device which helps her with her fatigue, and she's accidentally turned into a chicken nugget. And as her father, Choi Soin-man, and intern Go-baek Jeon, who has a crush on her, try to turn her back into a human, they discover unexplained secrets. It's always amazing when the stupidest ideas possible can turn into one of the most enjoyably pleasant shows possible. This is definitely one of those shows with an idea that should not work by any means necessary, and yet it's pretty freaking hilarious and amazing. It's a show that knows exactly what it is not apologizing for how stupid it is, and it creates one of the more fun experiences I've had with a TV show all year long. Just incredibly stupid, incredibly ridiculous, just a good time all across the board. I really enjoyed the show a lot. Check it out on Netflix, Chicken Nugget. It's one of the most bizarre things ever, but goddamn, it works. Another show I really liked this year was English Teacher, which has Brian Jordan Alvarez as a high school teacher who finds himself at the intersection of professional, political, and personal aspects of working in a high school. And when I saw this, my first thought was, okay, Abbott Elementary. Somebody's trying to cash in on the success of that. And it's weird that it's FX, too, that's put this on there. That's what I thought at first, but then as the show went on, as the show came on, it's just like, okay, this is doing a lot of things that it's distancing itself from Abbott Elementary. Abbott Elementary is more lighthearted. It's more of a traditional sitcom show, which is not a bad thing per se. This show, I think, works on the same... It's like if Abbott Elementary meets Bad Teacher, because they have a lot of really good talent involved in here. Brian Jordan Alvarez, who plays the main character in here, is really good. Stephanie Koenig is a nice, fun character that is the character that plays the best friend of the main character. You've got Enrico Colantoni from Just Shoot Me, who can usually never turn in a bad performance. He was also in Veronica Mars. Sean Patton is very funny. There's a lot of great fun characters all across the board that you really do get behind. It's a really good show. It's a show that I really hope goes on for another season, but considering that there was some accusations going on right now about the creator is being accused of sexual assault by someone he used to work with, I don't know how exactly that's going to turn out for the series going forward. Hopefully these aren't true. Innocent until proven guilty, but that's not sounding too promising right now. But hopefully, like I said, it's innocent until proven guilty, but I mean, if it's going to last one season, it was a pretty good season overall. Definitely check it out. You can watch it all on Hulu right now. English Teacher. Next up on my honorable mentions list, I have Dune Prophecy, which just recently premiered, if I'm not mistaken, because I think it premiered right after The Penguin finished its season. It did, in November. And, of course, following the events, is set 10,000 years before the events of Dune. It commences 80 years after the human military defeated the Thinking Machine armies at Ominous at the Battle of Corran, and follows sisters Valia and Tuya Harkonnen as they combat forces that threaten the future of humanity and establish the Fab sect known as the Ben Gesserit. And just like the movies, the show really does look pretty impressive overall. I mean, this was a show that was originally supposed to be an HBO Max original series, and then they made it into an HBO series, and it works really well. You've got two great performances by Emily Watson and Olivia Williams to carry the load in here. They're both really good actors in here, and the show does not feel like it's just rehashing the show in general. It feels more like a continuation of the show, and it does it very well. It's a very entertaining show, very action packed, very well done. It feels like you're right back in from where you left off with Dune Part 2. And hopefully the show continues, because I really like what they did with the 6 episodes that they did. I think it is getting a second season too, so that's good to know. So, pretty good year for HBO overall in terms of their shows, which we'll delve into when we get to the top 10 list in just a second here. But then what made my top 10 list, you might be asking? Let's take a look at my top 10 best shows of 2024. So starting off with number 10 on my list, we have Welcome to Wrexham, which had its 3rd season. Of course, this was a show about the documentary series for Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They buy this Welsh football team, Wrexham AFC, and because of them, they helped to turn the team around. And this season is where the team continues to excel. They have done very well, and they win a critical game they won the final game of the season 2-1 in this particular season. This is just a good feel-good show. Like I said before, when I've reviewed the show in the past, even if you've never been a fan of soccer, myself included, kind of like with Ted Lasso, it's hard not to get invested in the journey of watching this football club get back in the national spotlight. And having Mac and Deadpool being the two guys that are all along for the ride here and putting all their effort into this, I mean, it really is very fun to watch. It's a good, heartfelt show that really knows what it's trying to accomplish here. And it's not just them as the main, it's not just McElhenney and Reynolds as the main focus. All these people that are in the Wrexham group, they're all along for the ride, and you get so invested and get so intrigued by what they're doing in here. And it's just it's a well done show. It's a really engaging show. It's a really great show. It's been one of the more enjoyable shows to come out of FX in a while. I'm glad to see it's getting another season. It's definitely worth a watch. Definitely check it out. Welcome to Wrexham. Coming in at number 9 on the list, we have Agatha All Along, the spin-off to WandaVision, where you have 3 years after being trapped under a magical spell in the town of Westview, New Jersey, at the end of the miniseries WandaVision, the witch Agatha Harkness, once again played by Kathryn Hahn, escapes with the help of a goth teen who wishes to face the trials of the legendary Witch's Road. Without her magical powers, though, Agatha and the team form a new coven of witches to face the trials, while contending with some of Agatha's old enemies, such as the Salem Seven. And I'll admit, the show kind of started off very slow with the first episode, but once it got going, it does pick up the pace pretty quickly, and it leads into one of the more fun shows to come out of Marvel and Disney Plus in a long, long time. You could just tell that everybody's having a ball with this show, especially Kathryn Hahn, who, started off as this great character actress and stuff like Crossing Jordan and Anchorman, and then it's just become, anytime she's in anything now, it's like she will immediately lift something up to a T, and like anything she's in, she's usually comedy gold, and this no exception. She's absolutely amazing in here. The show just is very entertaining and compelling, and it does keep you on the edge of your seat throughout the course of every episode. And it's a really good show. It's a show I'm really glad I really found a lot to admire about it. It's definitely one of the year's best shows in general. Definitely check it out. Agatha All Along, my number 9 favorite show of the year. Here's one that kind of comes out of nowhere. My number 8 show of the year is Bluey, of all things, and it's mostly because of the 3 episodes that aired in April. The episode is, this is a show that's clearly made for kids, but adults can find a lot to admire about it, and none of that is more true than what they did with these last 3 episodes that they did, that they set up to be like they set this up to be kind of like the finale of the show when you really look at it, because it starts off with, Bluey's family, they're about to sell the house and they're about to move to a new house, and then they have this great episode, The Sign, which, is a really impactful episode, because everyone thinks that they're about to go away, they're about to leave their home, and then the end of the episode, is just one of the more perfect endings that you could have for an episode like this, where they just, it's not there's not a whole lot of words. They just let the music and the scene just play out, and it just works so well. And even the bonus episode that they did after that, which is basically Bluey and them all grown up, and they do a very good job of handling that. 3 really solid episodes from a show that has been really, really solid all across the board. Like I said, this is a show that's clearly made for kids, but it's a show that adults can find a lot to admire about it too, because they do tackle a lot of real problems, and it just works so well on so many levels. It's a really good show. And it just proves that you only need 3 episodes to really shine as one of the highlights of the year. And Bluey did that so well this year, and just such a great show. And we're looking forward to see what they do next, especially with the movie coming out pretty soon. Number 7, The Simpsons Football Fun Day. The only way you can watch a game that has the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are not very good teams this year. Cincinnati got better in the month of December, but yeah, that's one of those things that made that game so much more fun to watch, because of just how chaotic it was, how over the top it was, how bad some of the effects were. But there is something funny about watching Homer Simpson being the best quarterback the Cowboys had all year long, and seeing Lisa and Ralph catching touchdowns, Lisa catching the game-winning touchdown from Bart. I mean, there are times in this when you watch this that you get a little bit of a feel of Space Jam too, because of the stakes are so high for something that really the stakes aren't that high, because the big thing was if Homer won, Bart had to go into his job and do his job for I think it was for a month, and then if Bart won, Homer would have to give up all of his desserts for the month, and not for the month of February. And you got Dan Orlovsky and Mina Kimes, and I can't remember who the third guy is. Who's the third guy for these? They've had him on for all the Disney ones that they've done, because they did the NBA one earlier, is not too long ago, and he was also the guy that was calling that game. Drew Carter is his name, and Drew Carter is a really good announcer. I mean, you listen to him calling the last play of the big play of the game, where in that game, of course, that was the one where Joe Burrow finds Jamar Chase for the game-winning touchdown. But when when Bart is throwing the touchdown to Lisa at the end, and you just hear Drew Carter making the call, you can't help but get excited when you hear this.
The Cowboys want to let them score at some point. The ball's all the way out at the 40-yard line, so Bart will throw. It's Lisa, puts her foot in the ground, leaves her dead in the dust, and says, "If anyone needs me, I'll be in the end zone."
I mean, that is a good call. That is a good play call, and I want to see this guy doing actual NFL games. I mean, this guy could really do NFL. This guy does a pretty good job of calling these games, and I really like what he does here. And the whole thing is just fun too. It was just good fun overall. It made that game that could have been so unbearable much more fun than it had any right to be. It was so well done. Okay, maybe not well done, but it was so much fun all across the board. It was one of the more fun games that I watched on TV this year, just because of that alone. I know I'm going to be the only one that probably thinks that, but The Simpsons Football Fun Day was so much fun. Number 7 on my list of the best TV shows and events, pretty much, because that's what both of these lists are not just TV shows in general, but events in general. Moving on to number 6, we have The Penguin, with Colin Farrell reprising his role from the 2022 Matt Reeves Batman movie, and it explores the rise of power of Oscorp, the Penguin, in Gotham City's criminal underworld. Not only him, but this really is Christine Milioti's breakout show. Of course, Christine Milioti, you know her as the mother from How I Met Your Mother. She's been in a lot of other things too, but this show, as Sophia Falcone, this was her show all across the board. I mean, yeah, Colin Farrell's in the show, it's his show, but Kristen Milioti stole the show in general. She was fantastic. She stole everything. She stole the show. She was just so good in this role. Her character is so engaging and so enticing, and you just wonder, where's this all gonna go? How is this all gonna transpire? And the end of the show, this is one of the more engaging shows I've seen all year long, and it knows, it's not afraid to take any risk whatsoever. ever. They take a lot of risks here. They take a lot of chances, and more times than not, it works to a T. This is a really good show. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It makes you wonder, where's this all going to go? At the end of the show, it's just like, when they build up what this is building up to, it's just like, okay, I'm in love with this show. And it's just like, you also have a great cast that includes, Clancy Brown, Carmen Ejogo, Shorede Dashalu, Deidre O'Connell, Michael Kelly, Mark Strong. Like, it's a really good show. And if you love the original Batman, the 2022 Batman movie, which I did, it was my favorite movie of that year, you're going to love the hell out of this show. This is such a great show. It was worth the wait. It was worth waiting to finally get it out there, because it definitely did not let us down. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. The Penguin. At the halfway point of the list, number 5 is Ted, which is the prequel TV series to the Seth MacFarlane movies, as we travel back to 1993, where Ted, once again played by Seth MacFarlane, is now kind of a has-been. His moment of fame has passed, and he now lives back at home with his best friend John, played here by Max Burkholder, along with his parents, played by Scott Grimes and Alana Eubank, and his cousin Blair. And Ted may be a lousy influence on John, but at the end of the day, he's a loyal pal who's always willing to go out on a limb for friendship. And this is the type of show that makes you realize, God, I miss Ted so much. Ted is such a great character. Even though Ted 2 was definitely a step down compared to the first movie, I always loved the character of Ted, and I went into this with a decent amount of higher expectations just because I love those movies and the character in general, and this show really did exceed a lot of my expectations and then some. It's a show that just works because I love the camaraderie between not just Ted and John. That's one thing, but all the family get a lot of chances to shine with Ted, especially his cousin. His cousin, Georgia Wiggum, is really good in the show, and she could have easily just been a side character overall, but they put these characters in situations that, they get a chance to shine, and they all work very well. The jokes are still hilarious. These characters are really fun to watch. The writing is great. It's just good damn fun, and one of the reasons why it's worth getting a Peacock account. I have the benefit of having Comcast, so I get it for free regardless, but if you don't have Peacock, you're missing out on a really damn good show on Ted. It's one I highly recommend checking out. It's my number 5 favorite show of the year. Moving on to number 4, we have maybe Ryan Murphy's lone achievement this year, because let me tell you something, that guy had a lot of really bad stuff that did not work, and we'll get to those in just a little bit, but Feud Capote versus the Swans. In the show, you have acclaimed writer Truman Capote ruining his friendship with the Swans, a social group of New York City high society, by writing a thinly veiled, fictionalized account of their scandalous and hedonistic lives in his ultimately unfinished novel, Answered Prayers. When Esquire publishes the chapter La Coute Basque in 1965, after the restaurant of the same name frequented by the Swans and Capote himself, several vow to ruin his life in revenge, and this really is one of the best shows of the year, with a stacked cast that includes Naomi Watts, Diane Lane, Callista Flockhart, Demi Moore, Chloe Sevigny, Molly Ringwald, stealing the show, Treat Williams delivering one of his last great performances in this. But there is one notable flaw about the show that I do have, and that's with Capote himself. I wasn't a fan of Tom Hollander as Tom Capote, and I was just waiting for him to break out and have that great Capote episode and show what he could really be in that role, but it just never comes out. It does really feel like he's trying way too hard at times, and he could be good when he needs to be one-on-one with somebody, like, Jessica Lange plays his mother, which, again, a really great performance in there. Like, when that's working, that's fine, but more times he's more annoying than entertaining. But other than that, though, this is a slick, stylish, and intense series with strong performances from the females really carrying the overall load of the show. It's a really good show. I can't recommend it enough. It's definitely one of the year's best shows, no question about it. Moving on to number 3 on the list, we have Star Wars Skeleton Crew, a show that just recently premiered on Disney Plus in the last month. And it was a really good show overall. 9 years after the fall of the Galactic Empire, 4 children end up on an adventure to make their way home after being lost in the galaxy following a discovery that they make on their home planet at Atene while befriending a Force user played by Jude Law. And this is a really good show. This is the show that really, it feels like Star Wars is equivalent to not only Stranger Things, but also feels very equivalent to, like, old 80s movies, like Explorers and Flight of the Navigator, like these shows where, they don't make movies like those anymore. And a show like Star Wars Skeleton Crew has the advantage of using the Star Wars universe to its advantage. And this is really one of the more entertaining things to come out of the Star Wars Disney Plus library that I've seen in a long, long time. it's an Amblin show. It's like the equivalent of an Amblin show mixed in with Star Wars, and it just works so well. It's a very entertaining show. Jude Law's a ton of fun. These characters are really enjoyable. I've been really enjoying the show. This is definitely one of the best things that they've done since The Mandalorian for Disney Plus, and it's a show I highly recommend checking out. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, definitely worth a watch. My number 3 favorite show of the year. My number 2 favorite show of the year is FX's Shogun. What more can you really say about this show that hasn't already been said? It follows the collision of two ambitious men from different worlds. John Blackthorne, a risk-taking English sailor who ends up shipwrecked in Japan, a land whose unfamiliar culture will ultimately redefine him. Lord Toronga, a shrewd, powerful daimyo, at odds with his own dangerous political rivals, and Lady Mariko, a woman with invaluable skills but dishonorable family ties who must prove her value and allegiance. And this is a show that they've been talking about for years now, and they put a lot of money together to put this show on the air, and I'm very happy to report that this show was well worth the wait. It's brilliantly put together from a storytelling perspective, an action standpoint, casting direction, visual scope, scale. Everything just comes together to make one of the greatest TV achievements we've seen in a long, long time. Not since a show like Game of Thrones broke the mold for television almost over 10 years ago, but Shogun really is high up there with one of the best shows on TV, one of the most incredible TV accomplishments we've seen in a long, long time, and a show that has to be seen to be believed. I can't really say too much more about this one that hasn't already been said, but if you have not seen Shogun, you are missing out. Definitely check out Shogun. Which brings us to the number 1 show of the year, and I don't think it's really much of a surprise what it is. Number 1, that is X-Men 97. X-Men 97, of course, continues the story of X-Men the Animated Series. In both series, mutants and people are born with superhuman abilities that generally manifest during puberty. The X-Men are a team of mutant superheroes founded by Professor Charles Xavier to protect mutants and humans alike. And at the end of the animated series, Xavier nearly dies in an assassination attempt and is taken to space to be healed by the alien Shi'ar Empire. The show begins a year later and sees the X-Men facing new challenges without Xavier, using the leadership of their former adversary Magneto, and just like the original X-Men animated series, it combines action, soap opera-style drama, and exploration of serious topics. Just an amazing achievement that really does feel like you never left this world that they left in 97. I mean, this is a show that feels like you're right back in the thick of things. Many of the same voice actors are back for this. They have a bunch of new actors in here that really do not sound very different at all from the last time we saw all these people. This is just an engaging, entertaining show that is not afraid to take chances, and when it does, it takes them and just rolls with them. This is an amazing show that's just so well put together. It's just so well animated. The stories are incredible. The music is top notch. It's not afraid to go overboard when it needs to, and it's a great show that really is a great continuation of the original series. Even if you never grew up with the original series, there is so much to admire about this show on all levels that you just can't help but really find yourself enjoying it. This is a great show, amazing show. X-Men 97, easily the best show of the year, and it's not even close. This was the towering achievement for 2024, and yeah, it's going to be really tough to top what they did in the first season, but hopefully they will do that with the second and third seasons, even if the same person who created the first season isn't involved in this. But so there you go. That's my list of the 10 best shows of 2024. Now let's go ahead and delve into the worst shows of 2024. So there are not really a whole lot of honorable mentions here, just shows that I thought were very very disappointing and just really, really stupid and didn't really live up to the hype. Case in point, the first show, Deal or No Deal Island. Hey, let's combine Deal or No Deal with Survivor. That'll work, says no one ever. And look, I love Joe Manganiello. I think he's a very fun actor to watch whenever he's in anything, but man, this was just such a bad idea to combine Deal or No Deal and Survivor into one. It just takes a lot of the fun of Deal or No Deal out of the picture altogether. It's just a bad idea overall. The Veil, which is a rare misfire for FX in 2024, where you have Elizabeth Moss starring in a thriller series about a potential deadly game of truth and lies as two women travel from Istanbul to Paris and London, with one of them possessing a secret that the others need to expose. That just makes you realize maybe Stephen Knight isn't as good as I thought he was, because I've seen way too many of his works recently where I've been very disappointed by the end result, like the Christmas Carol he did for FX not too long ago. And God bless Elizabeth Moss. She's doing everything in her power to hold the show together, but she can only do so much, and it just isn't enjoyable at all. it's such a boring and uninspired show. It doesn't leave the viewer wanting more. It just makes you want to switch off the show entirely. So yeah, The Veil, a real misfire in general. And last but not least, we have Knuckles, which, I'll say this, at times it's fun for the wrong reasons. Like, it's a show that I think should have been so much more than it actually is. You got Idris Elba back as Knuckles again, and this time it's Adam Paley's character from the Sonic the Hedgehog movies as the focus of the show. And it does start off really slow. The first couple of episodes are not that strong, but as the show goes on, it does get a little bit better here and there. And it has a really fun, over-the-top episode directed by Jorma Taccone with the Flames of Disaster. I'm pretty sure you have seen the Adam Paley memes where he's just like, the Flames of Disaster! Like, it's stupid, but it's a fun kind of stupid, and just a fun. It's one of the more enjoyable aspects of the entire show. Plus, you got Christopher Lloyd involved in that one, so you can't go wrong with that. In particular, not a bad show in particular, and really, I thought about taking it off the worst of the year list as I was putting this together, but I'll put it on there just because I was mostly let down by the first couple of episodes, but it slowly but surely did get better, but not enough for me to completely take this off the list for now. But what about the shows that did make the worst of the year list? The worst TV shows / events, if you will, because there's some events on here that I'll throw in on here as well, of 2024. We might as well just call the top 10, the first 4 here, the Ryan Murphy Quartet, because, yeah, Ryan Murphy is involved in 4 of the bottom 10 shows on this list. Dr. Odyssey starts it off at number 10. The least bad of the shows, where you have Joshua Jackson, starring as a new doctor on board of a luxury cruise ship, and a small but capable team handle unique medical cases far away from the nearest shore. And, yeah, this is more on the lines of something like 911, except let's put 911 on a cruise ship. Let's make it like the Love Boat. And yeah, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever, but you could definitely tell it's a show that really has no intentions on doing anything that engaging or entertaining whatsoever, and just wants to go for the memes like 911 does, because 911 has a lot of stuff there that's not really quality entertainment. It's just more meme stuff than actually. You know, there's a reason why Brad Jones does the bit where every week where he's just like, here's the 911 clip of the week, and like, there's a reason why he does that, because nobody's taking 911 that seriously, and no one takes Dr. Odyssey that seriously. But like I said, it's the least bad of the new shows that Ryan Murphy put together in 2024. Case in point with number 9. Yet another diet American Horror Story, Grotesquerie, where you have Niecy Nash playing Detective Lois Tryon, who must work with Sister Megan, played by Michaela Diamond, a local nun trying to figure out a series of heinous crimes that is affecting both the community and their personal lives. And this show could have had the potential to be really, really good, but it gets really, really corny and lazy when it has to. Like, you got the nun dancing around while she's possessed, and it's not scary, it's stupid. And a lot of the stuff in here is not that entertaining whatsoever. They waste a lot of really good talent out here. Niecy Nash, Courtney B. Vance, like Travis Kelce has a role in the show, because why not? He's not catching any footballs, and yet people still love him regardless, because he's banging Taylor Swift. So let's put him in here. Why not? And there's a reason why not, because he's not really doing a whole lot on here that's really that interesting or that engaging in particular. It's a really lackluster show in general, a show that just really is trying way too hard to be the next, something that's not American Horror Story, but it's just basically American Horror Story in a long-form show. And it'd be fine if the show was actually good, but it's not. It just feels like they're just wasting your time with something that they think is more important than it actually is, and they're not really telling you anything about it. Like, what is Grotesquerie about? When you find out what it is at the end, it's just like, are you fucking serious? You just made me spend 10 episodes of this on this garbage right here. I was so let down by this show. Such a disappointment. Just a waste of talent across the board, and yeah. Another loser for Ryan Murphy. Coming in at number 8, we have American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. A show that could be very interesting. It could be something very, very intriguing, but nope. Not when we have Ryan Murphy on board, who cares more, who just put his name on it, just put his name on the show, and instantly, it's going to be instant success. And yeah, it's really not that good. It's a show that has a lot of problems with the number 6 show on the list, where it's trying to humanize a clear monster and just tries to throw in these weird, bizarre, situations here. Like, let's focus on his supposed gay affair that he had with somebody. Let's have all these people that are supposed to be these notable figures in life, and just be like, yeah, this is supposed to be Bill Belichick. This is supposed to be Rob Gronkowski. This is supposed to be Robert Kraft. Like, the way that they put all these people in here, and just the actors that they have playing them, they're just so badly put together on this show. Not to mention it's also produced by the Boston Globe, and heaven forbid if the Boston Globe is actually going to go ahead and dig up some dirt on Aaron Hernandez, they've been known for breaking big stories. Of course, everyone remembers Spotlight and all that, but one of the writers on the show is Dominique Foxworth. For God's sakes, Dominique Foxworth wrote a script for this show. Just such a mess of a show. But none bigger than the biggest mess to come out of Ryan Murphy in 2024. That's number 6. And that is Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. Netflix, of course, this is the Netflix show, which centers on the 1989 murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez, who were killed by their sons Lyle and Eric, and it incorporates the Rashomon effect by presenting the story from multiple perspectives, with the brothers' viewpoint serving as the central narrative. And yeah, this is a show that just... it's awe-inspiring how low this show goes. From the same people that made the show that made Jeffrey Dahmer, one of the most notorious killers of all time, into a sex symbol, because everyone wanted to bang the guy who played Jeffrey Dahmer. They tried to do the same thing here with the Menendez brothers, focusing a lot on the incestuous tones of their relationship, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, who finds this entertaining? And, this is just... it's just so ridiculous. It's so stupid. Like, with the Jeffrey Dahmer show, you can make the argument that, okay, there's a purpose here. They're at least trying to do something here. There's at least a purpose for this being like this. There's just no excuse for it. This is just Ryan Murphy literally giving everybody the middle finger and saying, you're going to watch it anyway because my name's attached to it. And sure enough, idiots bought into it, and unfortunately... the show became a success, and the show is going to lead into another series with, this time, Ed Gein being the focus of it, with Charlie Hunnam starring in him. So great. Now we're going to turn him into a sex symbol. And the worst thing that the show did is that it's making people want to go and reopen the case and have these two guys back out on the streets again. Like, they're in prison for a reason. I mean, come on. Behold, the quartet of everything bad that came from Ryan Murphy in 2024. The absolute worst of the worst. Just such a mess. Just such a mess of a show. In fact, let's stick with Netflix for number 6 on this list, because not only did they give us a really terrible show from Ryan Murphy, they also gave us one of the most overhyped, overrated things I have ever seen in my life. Number 6 on the list, the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. This was one of the most overhyped, overrated things I have ever seen in my entire life. And I wasn't even going to watch it. In fact, I didn't even watch it. My dad wanted to watch it. So he had to get my Netflix account. I had to give it to him to watch it. And, one of the biggest problems right from the get-go is that apparently Netflix, which has been around now, producing live scripted stuff now for 13 years... it's actually 11 years. When was House of Cards? House of Cards, I think, was 2012, 2013. No, it would have been 13 years. But Netflix, who has produced all the scripted stuff, apparently has no idea of how to fix technical issues on their front, because man, that shit was so frustrating to look at. I saw the clips on social media, and I just couldn't believe how bad those were. But besides that, the whole thing just felt really, really stupid, and everyone was building this up as like this great fight that everyone's going to be talking about for years to come. We're going to talk about it for not the reason you think. Anybody that thought that a fight between a 27-year-old Gen Z YouTuber and a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, the former undisputed heavyweight champ of the world, was going to lead to anything entertaining whatsoever, you're out your goddamn mind. I mean, this whole thing was one of the most obnoxious, most pointless things ever, and it was pretty, and let's be honest, it was fixed from the get-go. Jake Paul was making a ton of money off of this, so was Mike Tyson. I mean, they literally admitted that they were getting paid millions of dollars, and they wasted everybody's time on this. This was complete 100% garbage. Garbage that just does not make anybody look any better. It doesn't make Jake Paul look better. It doesn't make Mike Tyson look better. What this was an example of how people can be so stupid to watch this. Because 65 million people watched this event. 65 million people tuned into this thinking that they were going to get something. They were going to get something entertaining out of it. There was no entertaining factor in this. The fights they had before this were much more entertaining. The lightweight battle between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano was much better than anything that came from the main fight itself. This is, at least with the WWE and AEW All Elite Wrestling, there was at least something. There's at least, it's scripted, yes, but it's fun scripted. I can get a lot of entertainment value watching that. There's no fun watching this, and this is the type of thing that destroys whatever boxing had left to it. Like, boxing is not the same thing it was 20 years ago, and sadly, because we overhype events like this is the reason why boxing will never be what it used to be, because we overhyped this garbage, and we made it one of the biggest events on television in 2024, and it's just like, it's just so despicable. It's just so despicable how bad this whole thing was, right from the get-go, and it was just a bad idea, and yet people were stupid enough to buy into it, and lo and behold, the end result was this. So yeah, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight definitely deserves a spot at number 6 on my list of the worst things to come out of 2024 in terms of television. As we move into the top 5, we get to some real garbage at number 5 with Universal Basic Guys, the latest Fox animated comedy series. And boy, just when you thought Crapopolis wasn't bad enough, here you have a show centering around a group of South Jersey factory workers who are enrolled in a Universal Basic Income pilot program where their jobs are taken over by AI-powered robots and left with a monthly income and a lot of free time to get into trouble. Bless the Hearts, Duncanville, Housebroken, all had to die because we had to get this show on the air. Why? I have no idea. And this is the reason why Fox is struggling with its animated shows and is trying so hard to keep The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers from leaving because, man, the stuff that they have tried to put on since those shows have come on, since those shows The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers have come on, have been more missed than hit. You get a hit every once in a while, like The Great North or even Grimsburg, but man, everything else has just been pure garbage. Crapopolis is still terrible, and this might be even worse. At least Crapopolis has more of a look to it that's appealing than this garbage. Like, it doesn't help that the jokes are just not funny. Like, it's just so lazy. The writing is terrible. The animation is really bad. It's amazing how a show like this gets on the air and is supposed to be the next big hit, animated hit for Fox, and it's just like, it's garbage. It's pure garbage, and I think it actually did get another season, which, again, they renewed the show before the show even premiered, so it's clear that Fox doesn't care if the show's a success or not. If we can, excuse me, but if we know that we can make money off of it because it's our show and it's nobody else's, we're gonna make another season off of it because it's gonna do killer business on Hulu. Which, yeah, this thing should have stayed on Hulu and not be forced to take up a spot that could have easily been used for a much better Fox animated show. Instead of having to do this thing where it's just like, no, we're going to swap out all the shows now. Like the days of when The Simpsons, we used to be on Sunday nights at 8, and Bob's Burgers used to be on Sunday nights at 9, as Family Guy at 9:30. Those days are gone now because we need to put Family Guy at 8 o'clock. And then here's all these other shows, The Great North and Grimsburg and what's Crapopolis. That's what they're doing now with it, starting in February. Like The Simpsons and Family Guy and Simpsons and Bob's Burgers are on hiatus now, and I heard somewhere they're going to move to Wednesday nights now, which I don't think they should do, but I'm hoping that's not the case that happens because it just feels like they're pushing these shows out for garbage like this. Universal Basic Guys is such a terribly put together show. It's not funny. It's not well animated. It just sucks. It really, really does suck. Back to some more specials that failed to do anything that special. Number 4, The Real Full Monty. Remember this? Remember this pointless special that came out earlier in the year? This is based off, of course, of the Full Monty from the 1997 movie of the same name. But this is actually based off of the British TV specials of the same name, where you have 6 male celebrities stripping to raise money for cancer charities, and you've got Mandy Moore appearing to be the coach of the celebrities and the choreographer. They had Anthony Anderson, Taye Diggs, Bruno Tonloli, James Van Der Beek, Tyler Posey, and Chris Jones doing this. And I don't get why they had to waste 2 hours of this. Like, I get you're doing this for charity and all that, but they spent 2 hours preparing for this, and just like the movie The Full Monty at least has a reason to go that long, because it's a movie. But this, they built this up for 2 hours, and when they actually get to do this thing, like, it doesn't live up to the hype. It doesn't live up to the hype for it. I mean, for the female audience that's watching this, maybe it does, but I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't feel like it's needed to be this 2 hour long special, and I don't know. To me, it felt pointless. But then again, it's not made for me. It's made for the women who clearly want to see these actors get naked and do this for charity. Which, again, if it's for charity, so I can't really get mad about that. But I can get mad on the same level I get mad about Dancing with the Stars. I hate it. Actually, no, Dancing with the Stars doesn't do much. Does it do things for charity? Dancing with the Stars just does it because it's Dancing with the Stars. But yeah, forget what I had to say about that last sentence. Bottom line, this thing sucked. Plain and simple. Speaking of things that sucked in general, number 3 on my list of the worst TV shows and events of 2024 happened recently. The college football playoff. Yeah, remember when everyone was overhyping this to a T that, this new college football playoff thing that we're working on here, it's going to change the way we look at the college football playoff picture. Finally, these teams that have never been given a chance to say, have always been asking, why not us? Why not us? Now they're going to get a chance to come in here and show what they can really do. Yeah, 2 weeks into it, if 2 of the 8 teams that actually have shown up and actually have put together, 2 of the 8 games that we've had actually have led to some entertaining games, that's 20% out of the games that we've played so far, and most of them have been absolute, complete, and utter failures. They have been against teams that don't even try to do anything. They're just overmatched by whatever team they play against. Like, it started bad right from the get-go when Notre Dame just ran all over Indiana, and then Penn State ran all over SMU, and then, Texas ran all over Clemson, and then Ohio State ran all over Tennessee. Like, none of those games were watchable because they were blowouts and lopsided games that just got bad so quickly. Not until we got to the quarterfinals, we actually had 2 games that had legitimately interesting games that actually were pretty fun to watch. And I'll talk about Penn State. Hey, Boise State was the 3rd-ranked team in the country. Yeah, too bad that Penn State was able to stop Ashton Gianti from running all across the board. And so now when you take that away, Boise State's pretty much a lopsided, one-sided team. Oregon's the number 1 team in the country. Well, it's a good thing Ohio State saw that because they completely mopped the floor with them. The only 2 games that we've had so far that were remotely interesting or engaging was Texas-Arizona State, which, to be honest, Texas really could have made that another lopsided game, but Arizona State didn't give up. They took it to 2 overtimes, and they almost had a chance to pull off an upset win there, but Texas picked off the quarterback in the second overtime, and that ended the game there. But it at least was something entertaining. I at least got something of value out of it. And then the game that just got postponed because of what happened in New Orleans, the Sugar Bowl, the new Notre Dame Georgia game. It was a good game overall, and it showed that, hey, Georgia liked to play it up for the entertainment value at the end of the SEC championship game. But yeah, when you don't have Carson Beck there at quarterback, your team really, really struggles because Notre Dame just mopped the floor with them in the second half. I mean, it didn't even start with the second half. It started at the end of the first half alone, like when in the final minute, when they just took that lead and never relinquished it. Like, those 2, Texas, Arizona State, Georgia, Notre Dame, were the 2 best games so far that we've had in this playoff. But now we're getting to the teams that should be in a playoff like this. Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, that could at least amount to some very good games overall. So, bottom line, the first round and the quarterfinals were really lackluster for the college football playoff. Hey, we still got 3 more games here. Let's see if they can turn the tide around. But for now, the college football playoff is the number 3 worst thing I saw on television in 2024. And now we're getting to the real stinkers of 2024. These two are the worst of the worst. Number 2 on the list is Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. And boy, I never thought I would see the day that someone would make an Avatar live-action project that's even worse than the M. Night Shyamalan movie. But boy, Netflix certainly made that possible because, good lord, what a mess this show was. I mean, yes, Avatar: The Last Airbender has the look of the original show, but the writing and the changes they make here are so atrocious. They're so badly put together here. The casting overall is okay, I guess, but for a show that's trying to make you forget about the terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie, you did stuff that made the M. Night Shyamalan movie look better by comparison, and that's not a good sign whatsoever. And man, this show just sucked. This was just such a boring, lackluster TV show that just had none of the value that made the original TV show, the original animated series, so special. All the show that really proves is that the animation is just far superior than live action, and the fact that this show made The Last Airbender look better by comparison. The fact that they fucked up The Last Airbender not once but twice in live action formats is just unbelievable, and just such a disappointment on so many levels. Like, I expected so much better from this. This is one of the worst shows of the year. This would have been the worst show of the year had it not been for the number 1 worst show of the year, and I think you can get an idea of what that show is. And that is, without a doubt, Good Times. Oh, I'm sorry. Good Times Black Again. Let that set the tone for how bad this show really is, because boy is this show terrible. This is the bottom of the barrel for how to remake a TV show, because let's remake this, for one thing, let's remake the show as an animated sitcom. Okay, it's an odd choice, but I'll go along with it. But no. We're not done yet. Because we got to take this and we've got to turn this into is not just a bad television show that is a bad remake of a TV show. No, we've got to take this show and turn it into a bad Family Guy clone. But with a black family now instead of the white family, which, I'm sorry to tell you this, but they already did that with Family Guy. That was the Cleveland show. And that was actually much funnier than anything and more enjoyable than anything that was coming out of this garbage. This is 100% garbage. This is a show that makes the Cleveland show look like a masterpiece compared to this. This is everything that you're not supposed to do with a revival show. This is the show that goes against everything that the original Good Times stood for. It has a lot of offensive humor that isn't funny. The voice acting is wasted with a lot of talent in this. That really there should be a lot better things to view with the people that you have involved in here. Jay Farrell, Marseille Martin, Yvette Nicole Brown, J.B. Smoove, Michael McDonald, wasted on this show. And, this show is just a complete and utter insult to everything that Good Times stood for. The Boondocks reboot had to die because of this. They focused on this instead of doing the revival of the Boondocks, which the revival of the Boondocks would have been so much better than anything that this garbage would have provided. This show sucks. This show is absolutely abysmal. It is everything that is wrong with remaking a TV show for a new generation. And if you want a perfect example of how to do this the correct way, not even a great way per se, but in a way that actually works better than anything that this show did, go watch what they did with Everybody Hates Chris, with Everybody Still Hates Chris. A concept that sounded like a bad idea on paper, but you know what? It at least was funny. It at least was trying. The first episode alone, I thought was really funny, and I thought it was really funny with the way that they decided to make this animated. Like, it continues from where Everybody Hates Chris ended off with, where, they discover that he failed his GED, and, I think it's the dad that gets, I can't remember if it's the dad or the mother that gets so mad at him that they said, I'm going to slap you into animation, and then boom, they're right into the animation. Like, this show is at least funny at times. It's much more clever when it needs to be, but it's much better than anything that was coming from Good Times. Good Times just feels like a show that was just insulting the original Good Times and how is by comparison. Good Times is a show that just feels so just disgusted by disgusting on so many levels. It feels like a show that was not even made by the same people who made the original by the original show, or even people who love the original Good Times show. Like, it's just baffling how bad this show is. And this was one of Norman Lear's last projects he did, and he didn't look at this and say, this really isn't going against everything that I was saying that this was going. This was really going against everything that I was saying with the original show and all that, but no, I don't think he said that at all. And it's just like Seth MacFarlane and Steph Curry are involved in this. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever. It's just such a bad show. It's poorly animated. The comedy is not funny. The characters are just ugly to watch. The lessons they're trying to teach you aren't that strong. Like, this and they're just bad lessons all overall. I don't care what the showrunner says about the show being about family coming together, laughing together, dancing together, all that kind of stuff. It's just just get out of here with that. This show sucks. This is easily the worst thing I saw this entire year. This was a mess of a show. And I think everybody can agree. I think people who watch the show can agree with me. This was one of the worst things I've ever seen. This is one of the worst animated shows I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of bad animated shows, but this takes the cake for one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Good Times, the worst television show of 2024, and it's not even close. So that is my bottom 10 list for the worst shows of 2024. Like I've always said, if you have some thoughts on shows that should be in the best or worst list, let me know down below. But there's only one recommendation I have for the week here, and that is Saturday Night, one of my favorite movies of the year, which is coming out on Blu-ray this week. A really good movie showing the chaos that happens 90 minutes before the first episode of Saturday Night Live airs on October 11th, 1975. And it was a really good movie with a lot of good casting all across the board. Gabriel LaBelle, to be Steven Spielberg and Lorne Michaels over the span of 2 years, and knocking it out of the park, man. I mean, that movie is. I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him. And there's also a great cast involved in here. Great group of young actors. It's one of Jason Reitman's best movies he's ever made. He's made a lot of great movies, but this is right up there with stuff like Juno and Up in the Air and Young Adult and Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is one of his crowning achievements as a filmmaker. This is absolutely one of the year's best films, and one you should definitely check out when it comes out on Blu-ray on Tuesday. Definitely check it out. It's more than worth a watch. Saturday Night. And so with all that said, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Reviewing Network Live. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. And if you want to see more videos like this and you want to see more episodes like this, I advise you to please go ahead and check out our last show that we did, as well as our playlist, and also hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button, because we do post here every day. And we post here every Sunday night with new episodes of this show, but we also post clipless versions of Time About the Movies, trailer reactions. We have the NFL Network, which we're heading into the playoffs now, going into this week. So we'll definitely have that for you. That'll be coming up on either Tuesday or Wednesday. But with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And I'll see you guys next Sunday for another new episode. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, we are out.